Season 2 has officially ended in Capture the Flag as we finish the tournament and we've gotten through round 1, the semifinals, the bronze game, and the finals. I'm going to be recapping every single game, every single series, every team, and of course, I'll at the end-ish, I'll be talking about some of the problems that happened in this season, including some redone games, and of course, some drama. Anyway, I guess we'll start off here strong with the Dark Hearts and the Knights series. And I think this was a much closer series than everyone was expecting. I think the Knights, the seed number 8, pushed the Dark Hearts to their limit in Game 3, almost tied it at the end as well, but the Dark Hearts held on in Game 3. That was basically the series. The Dark Hearts did win this as the seed number 1 with their first ever series win in team history. So this was a big win for the Dark Hearts as they were eliminated as seed number 1 last season to the number 8 Pirates. So the Dark Hearts were trying to actually beat a number 8 seed, and the Knights, I mean, as a number 8 seed, last place in the seed season, like, they played their hearts out in this series and proved that, hey, just because we're last doesn't mean we're not good. And I think that was perfectly executed. I think, the first game, Ruslan had a hat trick. Ruslan played really well. The Dark Hearts just started off really strong. I do know for a fact that Fatini and Rob weren't voice chatting. They didn't have a voice call going on, so they had a lack of communication during this game. So that unfortunately hurt them in the end for this game. But I think what happens if they are calling, I don't know, but I will say Ruslan and Jovax, they win their first tournament game, of Season 2, and, Jovax wins his first tournament game of League, actually, guys, so this is a big win for Jovax, but Ruslan, man, with a hat trick, he played phenomenal. This is one of his strongest games of the season, actually. He opened up really strong. Fatini had a really good game as well, even got a capture. He made it 2-1, tried to come back, but the Dark Hearts, of course, shut that down, and they ended it with 24 seconds left with Ruslan. But yeah, guys, pretty much, I would say it was a strong showing in Game 1 for the Dark Hearts, and a really good game. It's Game 2 now, going over, of course, Dark Hearts were home on houses in Game 1, but in Game 2, the Knights were home, and man, did the Knights respond. They tied this series up with a 2-0 victory over the Dark Hearts, the strongest victory margin against the Dark Hearts. This is the Dark Hearts' biggest loss of Season 2's tournament. 2 capture ratio shutout. It was a big game for the Knights, and Fatini was phenomenal in this game. He was hitting some insane shots, and their defense was just, the Dark Hearts couldn't get through. The Dark Hearts did have their moments where they were rushing, and it looked like the Dark Hearts were going to get there. Like, it took a while. It's like more than halfway through the game. It was tied 0-0, but Robster got the Knights on the board with 141 left, and then Fatini came right back and made it a 2-0 game and solidified that lead. And I will say, there was one rush where Ruslan was going in, he had the flag, he was full, Fatini one-taps him through the barn, area, and, literally the tiniest sliver of a gap to one-tap, and he did it right on it was just an incredible shot, one of the best shots I've seen. And the Knights, I will say, this was their best game of, tournament, of course, for obvious reasons. But I will say it was a great game by the Knights. And it was, they're still undefeated at home during the tournament. So, hey, take that with pride, Knights. And, to any, Knights fans, I will say, it's unfortunate, especially, Shadow. I feel so bad for Shadow, man. Rob and, Fatini is such a great pairing. Of course, in Game 3, we'll talk about that. But Rob and Fatini, they started off in Season 1 of Classic, and they were paired together. It was really smart by Shadow to try to see if there's any chemistry left. And they had some good chemistry, I will argue. But I will say, I don't think that chemistry was as strong as the Dark Hearts, I guess. Mainly because, Storm was... What a pick. He got Ruslan and Jovax, which were similar time zones, and I believe Doctor as well, which was a close time zone. So Storm drafted really smartly with time zones in mind. Of course, Fatini and Robster, of course, were close time zones too. But I will say, everyone had the Dark Hearts winning this on paper, in dominant fashion. But I would argue Fatini and Robster had really good chemistry and took that away. A lot of that skill gap that was there was, chemistry is so huge in tournaments, which is why you saw the Knights here, only lose by one flag in game 3. Jovax got the capture. He got the game-winning capture. The Knights almost tied it late. Almost. Unfortunately, just one shot miss, and bam, Russell got Rob, and it was just game over, series over, tournament over, season over for the Knights. But, I will say, for being away, the Knights did their job. They did a really good job, and I'm proud of the Knights here. So, I feel like people underestimated the Knights here, and, I know they were out round 1 again, and they still haven't won a tournament series, but, man, they haven't gone out without swinging, they have won in the tournament. It's just that, they haven't won away yet, and we'll have to see what they do, especially since I believe they'll have the second pick next season. I know, the second pick, but yeah, or we'll see. Of course, trades happen all the time, and I don't really know what will happen, of course, but moving on to the Aces Alien series. This series was the most hyped series I had. I was so hyped for this, and unfortunately, it was the worst series, because it didn't go to game 3, and the Aces just played it spectacular. And I will say the main reason I thought I was really hyped about this series was that you had two leaders, Chitra and HT. Both of them have a lot of CTF experience, and of course, the rest of them are newish players. I mean, Chitra's team, the Aces, all 3 players besides Chitra are new, first season. Comp's first season with the team. Of course, Nate did return for the Aliens, but he didn't really get to play enough games. Of course, Necessity was a debutant too. But in the first game, unfortunately, HT wasn't able to make it, and I think that was a main factor, unfortunately, for the Aces, the Aliens, having a rougher time. Especially since Chitra was able to play Ronnie here, because what the Aces did here was really smart, is that they expected, Ronnie round 4, put Ronnie there, and then if they can get the win, because HT's not showing up, then they have a big advantage in game 2, and that's what happened pretty much, was that they were able to play their round 4 player against, a round 2 and a round 3, and able to win it at home, and then they were able to play Puffle or Bio the round 2 and round 1 against, of course, Aliens round 1 and round 2. So, and I will say they won fair and square, and absolutely just played insane. But I will say, the Aliens, they had a good season. I know it wasn't as crazy as last season. No finals, no crazy run, not seed number 2, seed number 7 this time. But I mean, as for the Aliens, this isn't the worst thing for them, especially since I believe they will be getting the round 1 pick after this series, because the Knights won, and that was huge because they got a win there and the Aliens didn't. So there was some sacrifice here, but I will say, I feel like the most bad for HT, because he still has not won a single tournament game in league, because he went 2-0 against the Illuminas when he was a Firebird, and he goes 2-0 with the Aliens, and those are the only 2-0 series, by the way, which is crazy. It sucks for HT, but I think this was an amazing series while it lasted. I mean, game 2 was kind of fun until, of course, because it was tied 1-1 at one point, until the Aces were like, okay, we're done, and that's what happened pretty much. But also, why the heck is Chitra here? Anyway. But yeah, I will say also, Bear got to commentate on this. This is the only Bear commentated game with me, so that was fun too. But yeah, no, I will say in game 1, looking at game 1, diving into it, the Aces held on, the Aliens held on for a while here against the Aces. I mean, it was more than halfway through the game before they led in a flag. Of course, they lost 2-0. And Chitra got, a flag after that. But, I mean, they did hold on for a long time. Necessity played really good defense. Comp did too. And of course, the Aces, they adapted and they got through. But, I will say, even though the Aliens went 2-0 here, it's not like they had nothing to show for it. I mean, if you look at just, it wasn't, I feel like a lot of the scores, 2 flag margins, don't really tell the story of the Aliens, especially since, most of these games were close for more than halfway through the game, and then the Aces just, took their lead after that. I'd say that the same thing about this game too, for game 2, as, they were both tied at one point, and then the Aces got a counter, and then they locked down, and then, won 3-1 and advanced. And, of course, congrats the Aces on this series, because like when they won these 2 games, they continued their winning streak. So that was like the great thing for the Aces. They got to continue their winning streak and keep it for longer, which is crazy because they extended their winning streak to 7 in this series because they had won 5 in a row at the end of the seed season. But yeah, dude, like the Aces just were just absolutely crazy, and it sucks for the Aliens here, but oh well, that is CTF, I guess. But I wish it was a game 3. I was so hyped for this series. Maybe I jinxed it. Who knows, dude. But yeah, anyway, Aces, Aliens, GG's to the Aliens. Unfortunately, they were eliminated here, and we saw the bit higher seeds win both of these series. The seed number 2, of course, advances again. This is the first ever Aces series win, by the way, so this is huge for the Aces. They lost in round 1, and game 3 won to 1 flag in season 1. Of course, to the rivals, the Boxers. So this was a big win for the Aces because the Aliens already made finals. They had already had a big push for, a big run. So this is like the first time the Aces had ever advanced. So these 2 teams, man, the Aces and the Darkhearts, got their first ever series wins here. And they were big series wins as they were able to make the semis. Next series is the Pirates Illumina series. And I'm not going to lie, guys. I think this series is underrated. I know the Pirates, you could argue, played really well throughout this series. Every single game, the Pirates brought it to the table. But I would argue the Illuminas as a team got a lot better as this series went on. Also, Sonic, why is your name 8? It's tough font size. Anyway, but yeah, pretty much I'll be talking about redos as they go on. So we'll start off here. What happened was, I believe a Pirate disconnected. A Pirate disconnected. I think Sonic disconnected midway through the game, and Mounds actually 1v2'd the Illuminas when Sonic disconnected, and then he got killed, of course, because, there's no Illuminas. What I did was I counted that 1v2 and then halved Mounds at the start and then let him have the breakaway. So basically what I did was, I made play normal, because if you think about it, Sonic wasn't even involved in that play. So when putting Sonic at the spawn, putting Mounds, at the ship at half a health when he was halved, that was the biggest sensible thing for me. What I should have done, though, and I do regret doing that play because it did lead to a Pirates capture, but of course that wasn't the winning capture by any means. That wasn't the crazy. I would say that second game did change the game, though, because the Illuminas were playing really well in that first match, and then Sonic crashes, and then the Pirates start playing better. And I think that's just, how it went. Who knows if the Pirates would have played better in the end of that game, you know what I mean? So we'll never really know, but in the end, the Pirates, got an advantage from it. But what I should have done is, the Pirates crashed, so they shouldn't, the Illumina should have just had, no one at their flag, because it wasn't their fault someone crashed, of course. But you can debate this you could debate this for a while. But if I were hosting this, I may have done something. I may have done it differently. Sorry about that. But anyway, the Pirates just had a really good game, and their offense was shown here. They had some really good offense against the Illuminas here. Of course, the Illuminas did get a flag back. They did actually have a lead, remember, guys, too. They actually captured first, but it was a trade, and there was that second 2-1 flag. So I guess you could say it was a pretty big flag, actually, when it was redone. But, I mean, the Pirates 1v2'd after the game was restarted. So it's not like the Pirates didn't deserve a flag or anything. They did play well enough to get that second flag. It's not like I handed the Illuminas a loss here. But, I always hate redos because of this reason, because then you're like, oh, what if it didn't happen? And so, yeah, that's kind of my game 1 spiel, but it was a really good game by both of these teams. Mounds had his first ever tournament win as well, which is awesome. Also, Tabami played amazing for his first ever tournament game. He actually outplayed Sieb here. Played really good. This is Sieb's first ever tournament game, so, I guess you could say with debutants, some people, it takes a little bit of time to get into CTF, tournament-wise, and some people, Tabami, just go off, or Mounds, but, it really depends on the player, too, a lot of, and I will say this, new players that don't succeed instantly in their first ever CTF game, it doesn't really matter, because, it doesn't affect your long-term, it doesn't mean anything for your long-term, game, but anyway, Going to game 2, man, what a game this was. This was a struggle for the Luminas to capture, mainly because Sonic would not stop one-tapping them. I mean, this was an insane game because the Pirates have a mercenary, and it's like, oh, mercenary, oh no, it's going to be a sweep, because that's always, what people assume. No, a 1-0 narrow win where it could have easily gone to overtime. And I mean, Sonic played so well in this game. He was crazy in this game. And Sonic's one of those players where if he's not nervous, if he doesn't really care about what, like, the win or loss, because in this moment, he's like, I know I'm going to lose, so I'll just try. I'm not too worried. And that was his mindset this game. And you could see it just absolutely, like, he just started going off because, like, there was no stress. There was nothing to hold him back. And, like, that's what I want to see in this league. Like, that, because there's players like that, like Sonic, or not to pick on Sonic or specifically talk about Sonic, but there are players who get nervous, and that really inhibits their gameplay. And you can see that with a few other players, too. It's not just Sonic. I'd argue every player, gets stressed out about CTF, to be honest with you. But, there's some players where, like, they play significantly better when there's less stressors involved. And Sonic's an easy example of that. Honestly, his best game of the season, unfortunately, was a loss. Some noob and, Seeb, they were able to get their kills, get past, make it a 1-0 game midway through. But, like, that was the thing, actually. Sorry, it wasn't a struggle to capture the Illuminas. The Illuminas captured, like, relatively quickly, but Sonic just held on. Like, he just refused to let them get another. And, like, he even had, like, 5 one-taps in a row and almost captured. Like, I mean, almost captured. It was just crazy, especially since the Illuminas beat the Pirates against Alvin. Like, they beat the Pirates at home during the seed season 2-1 in overtime when the Pirates had Alvin. So, I mean, like, it's not like the Illuminas hadn't done it before. So that's why it was really crazy. And this is a really good game. It's so amazing. And also, like, the mercenary Tony, like, Tony Mega, I know he struggled, like, in the beginning stages, but he did what he had to do. I think, you don't have to have a crazy amount of kills to make an impact on a game. I just realized this. You don't have to have a crazy amount of kills to have an impact on the game. The Luminas were shooting at Tony instead of Sonic, because Tony was rushing. And whenever, you have less people shooting at you, that allows you to have more space. And that's kind of like what Tony Mega did in this game, is that he gave Sonic more space as a mercenary by rushing and being a pest. Even though he only got 2 kills out of it, he was still, a problem for the Illuminas, I would argue, because he was still making the Illuminas have to shoot at him and have to, go after him instead of just, focusing on Sonic. Because if it was a 1v2, it's a different story, in my opinion. But yeah, the Illuminas tie up the series after the Pirates were, trying their hardest to make it as close as possible with such a bad situation they were in, because, they weren't able to use Alvin here. And also, remember, like, Mountains played this game 1 and won. Like, they could have played Alvin here. And, of course, Seeb as well Luminas had to play their round 4. But both of these teams didn't play their best players in game 1. Their top 2, I guess you could say, pairing. And so whoever won gets a big advantage. So, the mercenary situation really helped the Luminas here. And it was a really big wake-up call for the Luminas, of course. But, yeah, no, really awesome game. And we'll go to game 3. Honestly, the best game of this series. So I'd say, like, as the games go on, it gets better. And this one went to overtime. This was the first ever game 3 overtime game ever, where it's sudden death, 1 flag ends your season, 1 puts you in the semis. And this was such a good game. You have Alvin and the Pirates rushing really quickly. They get a flag within a minute, and then they're just holding on. They hold on to that 1-0 lead. And eventually there's 1 minute left. And we see this all the time with the Pirates. Like, we've seen this where the Pirates get a lead and they hold on and they keep it. And then it's just over. But the Luminas storm back with like 40 seconds left. They get the flag. They capture with 20 seconds left. They tie it. All of a sudden, it's an overtime game. The Pirates are leading this game for most of it. The Luminas hung on, stopped that shutout. And, of course, the Pirates win it still, though, in overtime. And, I mean, the Luminas, like, after they went down, the Luminas were pushing for flag. And the Pirates were defending. And, like, that's how you play Warships. But the Luminas were able to get through and tie the game and force the overtime. And of course, the Pirates did win it, but I mean, like, the Illuminas forcing overtime was amazing. This Illuminas team didn't have like a round one player. Remember that, guys. This Illuminas team didn't even have a round one player, and they were playing spectacular. I would argue though, like, these two players are top players of the league. Like, Sumnoob and Sieve are amazing. So it's not like, you can't just underestimate them because they're not round one players. But they only had 2 less kills than the top 2 pairing here, who were, number 8 and number 9 picks. So, the Illuminas, sure, they didn't have a top pairing, but they had so much depth. And, it really dragged on this series, I'd argue, because, they had Tabami here, and then they were able to just throw in some new. They could have, of course, I wish Lucky played this series, obviously, but unfortunately Lucky wasn't able to, which sucks, but, that is how it works, I guess. But who knows what happens if Lucky plays this as well? I mean, I would argue, like, from my own experience, like, helping or practicing with the Illuminas, because I practice with, like, every team that asks me, and the Illuminas want some, practice with me. I would argue, that Sumnoob and Siebe were, like, their best pairing at that time. I think Lucky, not to say Lucky's bad or anything like that. I just think that, the Pirates, they know Lucky's game, I guess, and they didn't really know much more about, like, Sumnoob and Siebe, I'd argue. And so throwing them out was a smart move by Illuminas. It almost worked, but the Pirates hung on, and they advanced again. And the defending champs, of course, advanced again. So the Pirates, they remember this. They've won 4 series in a row now, like, at this point in time. So the Pirates are, like, going, everyone's like, holy moly, the Pirates are just going absolutely crazy. And, like, Duck luck, because everyone's like, Duck owns the Pirates. Duck always has some sort of luck whenever he owns, like, does something, when he interacts with something in CTF. It just, something, like, positive happens, like winning his first ever owning team. Like, I don't know. Just absolutely crazy, though. Like, he almost won the number 1 pick, too. But anyway, you now have, of course, the Blocksters Fiber series, which arguably is the best series of round 1. Arguably is. And, oh my gosh, dude. It was just absolutely crazy. Of course, I gotta fix that. There are some issues, guys, because I literally, like, made this, like, instantly. I made this as quick as possible, and I focused on kills more too, like, to make sure kill totals were more accurate. But let's start with game 1. So game 1 is another unfortunate story here, where we had to redo it, actually. And the unfortunate thing is, it wasn't just a redo mid-match. Like, this was more minor. This was a full-on redo. What happened is that, unfortunately, Blaze was wearing an illegal avatar. I didn't see it. Like, I didn't see the avatar. And unfortunately, like, I was reviewing the footage and I saw he had wings, he had a head, he just had so much blocking, his avatar. And the Firebirds won, guys. They won originally 2-0. But the reason they won is because of a Blaze capture, which, Patrick would have one-tapped Blaze and saved the flag, but of course he didn't, because Blaze was wearing something, and then Blaze killed Patrick, and then he captured, and, like, it was, like, near the rock, near the ladder, like the rock climbing ladder on the right side if you're attacking. But anyway, yeah, it was so unfortunate. And the really crazy thing about this is that, like, Patrick was going to give up. Like, he was straight after that loss, he left the server and he was literally about to quit. Like, literally about to quit, which honestly was, like, one of, like, the worst things, like, he could have done. But of course, when he found out that, wow, they won because of an illegal avatar, he came storming right back. And unfortunately for the Firebirds, they had to redo it. And of course, the Blocksters won it. they won, and of course it went to triple overtime. So the Firebirds lose their game 1 in round 1 twice in a row in triple overtime at home. 1-0. And I mean, absolutely unfortunate that the Blocksters here. So imagine this: you lose 3 in triple overtime after you thought you won game 1, and your opponent, like, your top player, your opponent just left. It was just so unfortunate. And I feel the most bad for Blaze, because Blaze has been an amazing player of CTF this entire season. He's good. Like, I think he went to overtime twice and lost in regulation once, and of course lost to this. So, like, he never actually got the win of the game, and I was so mad. I was so upset that Blaze never actually got to win. But, like, it's not like it was his fault. I mean, like, Blaze played great. Dude, like, Blaze got like the most important overtime point ever because he got the Firebirds home advantage when they lost to the Knights in week 8. But dude, really unfortunate. Blaze never got to win an actual game. But I mean, he did get the Firebirds 2 points because it was 2 overtime losses, so equivalent to a win, I guess, because he tied twice. But man, dude, the Bloxers is such a close game. Like I actually thought this game was never going to end. Like this was one of those games, like because if you compare this to the other like triple overtime, by the way, this game isn't as long as the other triple overtime too. But if you compare the games, you can look at just like, oh, dude, like that the first like Firebirds Illumina's game 1 when the Luminas won triple overtime 1-0 similarly, except that game was like redone a ton of times. Like the overtime matches were redone so much. It lasted like 2 hours or something trying to record a good clip because the game was buggy, like Roblox was going down or something, and like we were just trying to get it done, and like the longest game session recording ever. And then this one was like, oh, every game's going smoothly except it won't end. And so it was like a completely different vibe for me when I was recording this. But yeah, dude, crazy. I thought this really, and I don't know what it is about triple overtime, but like in triple overtime, just something changes. Like people are just like, okay, I'm done like with this strategy. They finally changed their strategy of Volcano. I don't know what it is, but they do it. And yeah, absolutely insane. And now we'll move on to game 2, where the Firebirds actually beat the Bloxers 3-2 in overtime. And man, this was such a good game. I mean, like either this or the Pirates Illumina's like round 1 game was the best one, and I don't know which. Or of course the game 1 of the series, because both of these games are crazy. But you have it where the Bloxers jump to a 1-0 lead. Everyone in the chat is like sad. Like everyone's like, oh my god, the Bloxers are just gonna do it. The Fibers are gonna be still winless in the tournament because they had never won a tournament game at this point. And they never even captured a flag at this point because they were shut out both times in Season 1 tournament, and they were shut out here. So the Fibers have never captured. They've never won. And then, bam, they capture 3 flags, win in overtime. But anyway, we'll go in depth with the game. Patrick takes a 1-0 lead for the Bloxers. And then the Firebirds come back. KK like played amazing in this game. Like KK was the story for this game. He gets the first ever Firebirds capture, and he ties the game. And then the Bloxers counter and come back after a little bit, I believe. Of course, I know Poke had a really big save on the Firebirds during this game as well. So this could have been actually a regulation win for the Firebirds, but Poke got a massive save. Like he was at his spawn, shot KK at middle, and then Patrick was trying to spawn camp. Patrick gets killed, and then of course it's just crazy. And then of course I think KK got one tap when trying to retrieve it. So it was just a crazy save on the Bloxers. So they save it, and then they capture. It's 2 on Bloxers, and then Vinci, with literally 1 minute left, like they get a massive rush on the Bloxers. I mean, massive. KK has the Bloxers in their zone, keeping them there. Vinci's gone. Captures at 21 seconds. They finally kill KK. It's too late. The Bloxers try to march down, but it's too late, and we go to overtime, and Vinci ends in overtime. The Bloxers had the first rush, had the flag. The Firebirds got the save in the alley. And then they countered. KK did KK things, kept them in their zone again. Vinci wins it with a crazy jump at the end, too. Like, he didn't even use the ladder to get that win. And, oh my gosh, dude. Just an incredible game. Like, literally, this is like, it's, when I said, like, Season 1 vibes, I mean it. Like, this is like Season 1 vibes, especially with Patrick, and KK being the leaders, like, in this game. Like, both of them played Season 1, a 3-2 overtime. I mean, 3-2 overtime was always a dream for me to see. Like, when I began Season 2, I was like, I want to see a 3-2 overtime game. I want to see it. And we got, like, 4 of them or something, which is crazy because we had 0 last season. And so, like, a game that ties 2-2, like, we hadn't seen it in so long, and bam, in our face. But, yeah, dude, of course, we saw it, we saw a game tie, but tie for a little bit, but never really end in a tie, you know what I mean? But, anyway, moving on to game 3. This game, of course, man, dude, this one was actually redone, but the first game was kept. And the main reason for that is because the main reason this game was kept is because the redone game actually had, I think it was Blaze actually, but like they lost 1-0 anyway, and the redo was like literally them standing still. I'm not even lying. Like, I literally was recording, and none of the teams wanted to rush because whoever rushed for it first, had a disadvantage, and then the other team could counter, and then bam. It took like 3 minutes for them to rush. I was like, no, we're not keeping it. And, and the Fibers were fine with that anyway, and the Blocksters. But, actually, even Patrick. But this was crazy, dude. MOG and Vincey, they played their hearts out. Vincey has the flag. He falls. It was a brutal fall, man. Like, what if he captures that? Do they win it? Or do the Blocksters tie it 1-1? Who knows? But, man, the Fibers almost had a lead. But with, like, literally the final rush of the game, the Blocksters get the flag. They run. And then it was just such a great play to get that flag by the Blocksters. Like, they just played it perfect. And it's just, I'm not crying or anything. That's my nose because I am sick kind of and I'm trying. But sorry about that. But, yeah, anyway, the Patrick just was, crazy. Folk had the flag. He gets killed. Patrick captures with 1 second left. A season ender with 1 second left. We thought it was overtime. Nope. Bam, 1-0. And the Fibers still remain winless at home in the tournament. But, man, what a series. I mean, like, 2 overtime games and a 1 second capture game. I mean, that is just the closest series ever. Patrick beats Vincey. This was Vincey, MOG, and Fear's reigning champs. They were reigning champs on the Pirates last season. They're out. This was Vincey's first ever loss in a tournament I've hosted in literally like over 2 years, which is crazy, guys. Like, ever since season 5, he had never lost in a tournament. And man, dude, Vincey's 3, like, he won 3 tournaments in a row. Like, of course, 1 was Classic and 2 were 2 were Classic, 1 was League, but yeah, Vincey's like reign ends, and we get a confirmed new champion, as Rob also was a Pirate and won last season. Of course, he got eliminated in round 1. So all of the champions of last season are out round 1. We know we're going to get new champs. Like, we just know it. We just don't know who. Of course, the semis roll around, and we'll start off with the Dark Hearts Blocksters. What a game, what a series this was. I mean, there's like a lot of these games, like a lot of the CTF season 2 was just so amazing with like the games. Of course, there were some other issues I'll talk about later, but the Blocksters actually like outplayed the Dark Hearts, I believe, or I think it was really close in the beginning. No one could capture. Like, both teams were defending well, and then of course with like 1 minute left, the Dark Hearts pull through capture. And they figure out a way to get through that Blocksters defense, and they win it. Jovax was a huge reason for this win, too, I would argue. I know Wrestling had more kills, but, dude, Jovax pulled through, because Jovax actually led kills, I believe, in the beginning of this game. And it took Wrestling a little bit to get in gear, and he kept it tied, and once Wrestling got in gear, it was a Dark Hearts win, and they won 2-0. I mean, 2-0, like, doesn't really represent this score, because it was a very close game, and it, like within the last minute is when flags were captured. But, that's kind of how it goes. The Dark Hearts were very efficient with their capturing on houses, and it kind of makes sense. Once they got momentum, they're bam, bam, and game over. And that's why we'll move over to game 2, where it's the same story, except on the flip side. The Blocksters, were trying to get momentum here, but Kool-Aid, out of all people, Kool-Aid outplayed, like, Rustlin, actually. He was playing so well on Maul, and, like, the Blocksters were not able to get past him, because what the Blocksters' game plan was, the game plan obviously was, because the Dark Hearts had to switch someone here. They put in Kool-Aid, and Kool-Aid played so well. And you might be wondering why Doctor couldn't play in game 2s. I don't know a specific reason, but I know he was offline. I think he was on vacation or something when this was happening, so he wasn't even able to play. But imagine if Doctor was here. I don't know how that would happen, but how that would have gone. But yeah, Kool-Aid outplays Rustlin here. Rustlin's outplayed, I believe, not outplayed twice. Like, Kool-Aid did play really well, but game 2's, Rustlin has had some, bad performances, I guess, so far, or at least during this tournament. He had some iffy performances. Of course, in the finals, that might change. But, Kool-Aid played so well in this game, and I think he proved to, like, the Dark Hearts that, he is a reliable backup. He was getting doubted by, like, Rustlin and Jovax for obvious reasons. Like, he's a round 4 pick. You don't want to throw your round 4 pick out. But, like, this guy won a finals game for the Aliens last season as a mercenary. And he just proved himself hugely here. Of course, it was a loss 1-0, but it was such a close game. They almost took the lead. They almost did. And Blocksters got big saves. And then, of course, Patrick puts it away 1-0. Blocksters tie the series. Moving on to game 3. the Dark Hearts win it. And I will say this, the Bloxers outplayed the Dark Hearts in this game. Halfway through the first half, all Bloxers. And I mean, Patrick, I think they had more than 3 times kills at one point, or at least 2 times. But Patrick just played so spectacular. There was no messing around with Patrick. He played houses perfect. He gave the Dark Hearts a lot of trouble. They were down 1-0. Patrick captured in the first minute, and then it's halfway through. The Bloxers still have a 1-0 lead, and I'm thinking in my head, oh my gosh, are the Dark Hearts gonna blow it? Not to be mean to the this is just my thought process. I was like, because this is a huge drafting team by storm, and if they lose here, it's huge against the Dark Hearts. Huge, because they're the favorites, and of course the Dark Hearts, they somehow, Rustlin gets a flag, ties it up, and it goes to overtime. The first ever Game 3 overtime in the semifinals, and the second one ever. And it was such a close overtime, but Jovax, man, dude, the Bloxers, they kill Rustlin. All Patrick needs to do is save that flag. Jovax with a huge one-tap to send the Dark Hearts to the finals, to send himself back to the finals since Season 6, and to give Jovax a chance to actually win a tournament in his 6th ever season. Absolutely crazy play. And, I feel so bad for Patrick because he played his heart out, dude. He literally outplayed the Dark Hearts for most of this game, but the Dark Hearts were just able, it was a 1-0 flag. It was only a 1-0 lead, and the Dark Hearts were able to come back and win it in overtime. And what a huge win for the Dark Hearts. I mean, the Bloxers proved themselves worthy here. They were strong. They were on the Dark Hearts level. I would argue the Bloxers were the closest team to take out the Dark Hearts. Especially with this Game 3 performance. The Bloxers had a real shot of taking out the Dark Hearts, and it could have been a Bloxers Aces series, of course, or a Bloxers Pirates, as we're going to move over to the Aces Pirates series, and this was an amazing series as well. I mean, I would say the defining moment of the series was Game 1, where the Aces were able to get a big win with their 3rd round pick, Civilian. And Civilian got his first ever tournament win as a debutant as well, and he played amazing for the Aces in this game. I mean, of course, they played Sonic as well, and Sonic played really good too. Chitra played well as well, and of course, Boro. And I think when the Pirates put Boro out, they weren't expecting him to lag as much, unfortunately, and he did unfortunately lag a lot, which sucks. I mean, that is probably the main reason. I'd say lag really defined Game 1. Of course, Boro did have a really clutch save at the end to stop the sweep. Stop it. Because it just felt like a sweep game. It felt like it. I was like, man, are they really going to sweep here? But they win it, and they get their 8th win in a row, which is absolutely insane by the Aces. But the Pirates, they're not done. In Game 2, they actually tie the series up. They were actually down, as Bio captured 1-0, but Alvin was able to get a capture, gets the kill he kills Bio. He one-taps Chitra on his way out, gets the capture, and just absolutely crazy. Alvin, I'd say this was probably one of Alvin's best games as a Pirate. I mean, he played so well. The offense Alvin provided was so great, especially, I didn't expect Alvin to be really great on offense here. Obviously, Alvin had a really good performance as well, in the Luminous game. Alvin had less kills, guys, but he was really key for the Pirates getting flags. And dude, I never really expected Alvin to have that dynamic, because I always assume Alvin is a really defensive player, wouldn't really rush, right? Sonic's the offensive powerhouse. No, it was very flipped. I mean, Sonic did absolutely rush and cause damage, but Alvin gets 2, he doubles down, and he gets the Pirates back in the game. Bio 1v2 them, and then I think Bio got shot from the floor. He was from the ceiling, I mean. I think Sonic shot the floor, or someone shot the floor, and Alvin, Bio got killed through the floor, which is absolutely crazy way to end that. But a really good Pirates win, and they stay undefeated on Warships, and they end the Aces winning streak, which was huge for them. Because that, man, if the Aces won that, there are 9. Dude, craziest win streak ever. And then you move over to Game 3, and this game was crazy, dude. What happened here, of course, for some reason, I forgot to put in stats for Alvin, or I don't know what happened. I don't think I did, actually. I think I just threw Boro Toto down. But, basically, this was a crazy game, dude. I mean, Sonic I would say the Pirates outplayed the Aces in the first half of this game too. Isn't that weird though? That both teams in the game threes in the semis both teams that lost outplayed their opponents in the first half. But in this case, the Pirates weren't able to gain a lead here, and it went to overtime. The Pirates outplayed them, but then the Aces were defending, and I think that's huge. That the Aces defense has always been amazing, like on underpass this season, and they proved it here in this game because they followed through. They go to overtime, and then they instantly end it. It felt like they ended it super quick. I mean, Chitra Ronnie, such a great duo. And I will say this, Ronnie really proved himself here. This is, I think, when I realized that Ronnie isn't just, a debutant, a round 4 pick. He is much more. I mean, like, dude, what a pickup for Ronnie. And he wins it in overtime. Like, dude, I was so shocked because I actually had I always assumed the Pirates were going to move on to this because, Alvin and Sonic have been such a crazy duo, but Chitra and Ronnie, man, they really proved themselves here. And I will say Sonic and Alvin had an incredible season. I mean, they were the most entertaining duo team, like, of the season. Like, the season was crazy. Their games were crazy in the tournament. And, like, just absolutely a fun duo. Same with Patrick and Pokemon. The Bloxers were a lot of fun as well. And, like, it sucks really that, this is how it ends, of course. But, I guess, that's kind of how it went. Of course, I kind of forgot to fix some of this stuff. Whoopsies. Sorry, guys. I'm telling you. But, just amazing, dude. But yeah, dude, that's how it ended, and the Aces made their way in the final. We'll do bronze now. Bronze game was a very I feel like this was a very one-sided game. I mean, like, the Bloxers get revenge on the Pirates after the Pirates eliminated them last season. Of course, different Pirates played this season. I feel really bad for Alvin because I really wanted to see him get in the finalist hall, but the Bloxers get in the finalist hall, or the bronze part of it, because they made semifinals. That's why it's like finalist hall, because semifinals is kind of that, but they made bronze. Patrick with a good capture, and that was the game. The Bloxers held on there, and probably the most boring Pirates game ever. I mean, like, no offense to the Pirates, like, I think really what happened here was that, this loss was crushing, dude. This is such a close loss, and I think it I don't know if it broke the Pirates, but man, it sucked. Like, I felt really bad for them. And of course, Sonic was dealing with some stuff as well during this game, so some personal stuff, so that also is probably another reason why they didn't do as well in this game. But fortunately for the Pirates, they do lose their first home game. But hey, in the bronze game, losing your first home game in the bronze game, I mean, like, that's probably preferred. You probably don't want to lose at home at all until late anyway. But yeah, dude, Bloxers get bronze, and Bloxers just they played in spectacular fashion. I really wonder, the only matchup we never saw, guys, was Bloxers Aces. We never really saw a true top 2 pairing between these two this season, I feel like. And, like, who knows what would have happened if that happened. We did get to see their rivalry games, but the rivalry games, they weren't like top 2 pairing, I don't believe. But anyway, moving on to the finals, game 1. This was a redone game. I think this is probably the biggest. I think this is a great time to talk about the leakings, or some of the drama, the leakings, the leakage. So what happened was the Dark Hearts won game 1 in a sweep. Yes, the Dark Hearts swept the Aces originally, but the Dark Hearts, it was Jovax and Russell, by the way, and it was against Civilian and Chitra, and in game 1, and the Dark Hearts, they didn't keep their mouths quiet. And if you guys want some context here, during the seed season, I was tipped off that people were leaking somewhere. I was tipped off that there was a massive leaking issue that I was very unaware of. A player actually notified me, and so I made an announcement saying, hey guys, let's not leak during the tournament, because this is a big deal. Of course, we're in finals and talk about this. And of course, that doesn't happen. The Dark Hearts decide to leak, and I'm not going to blame all the Dark Hearts, obviously. It was one player in particular that decided to leak, and what happened was the Dark Hearts, they sweep here. Game 2 we kept, Game 3 we kept, Game 4 we kept. Game 5 was actually a sweep as well, But the problem with Game 5 was that this wasn't kept at all because of the weeks. So none of these games were kept. So what happened was, it was so complex. But basically what happened was Jovax leaked like a bunch of, leaked that they were up 2-0 in the series, right? So we know for a fact that Jovax, which awful decision by Jovax, obviously, and he knows it. And like, I'm not gonna go get on him anymore for it because it's literally done with. But he leaks game 1 and game 2 the scores. He leaks sweep here, 3-2 win here, but he doesn't leak game 3 or game 4, which is shocking. I don't really know why. I think it's because they were losses. But he doesn't leak those. So all of a sudden, the Aces can now argue that they can redo both of these games, right? But the Aces, knowing, how the Aces really were, the Aces were the most wholesome team ever, because, normally, we just redo these 2 games, and then, if the Dark Hearts lose one of them, bam, these 2 are game winners, right? Because they won these. They don't have to redo these. These are 2 wins right here. They just need to win one of these. So what happened was, what the Aces decided to do was, instead, they made a deal. Instead of redoing these games without, Jovax, instead of redoing the games, and redoing the entire series, because that would have been annoying, they decided to redo Game 5 twice. So this Game 5 redo is actually a Game 5 redo. They decided to redo Game 5 twice, and then to ask that both sweeps are removed. So this was actually a Game 5 redo, or a redo, I guess you could say. I don't know if it was specifically for Game 5 or not. So I did have to fix some commentary on this game, specifically this one. But yeah, basically they asked for no sweeps, and understandably so. But the Dark Hearts, I feel like, this sweep in particular, if it was kept, them coming back in this series would have been huge. I think it would have made a bigger statement to the audience that this Aces team got swept, lost barely with a amazing player Sidon, and then they came back, rallied back, especially in Game 4, and then unfortunately lost in Game 5. Knowing that there were sweeps, I think changes things, because all of a sudden, this feat of coming back in this series is a lot more shocking. Of course, Kool-Aid, had a really poor game in Game 3, and we'll talk about that, but in this game, Ronnie played amazing. Chitra played great as well, but Dr. Trexo was the story of this game. And remember, in the sweep, I do want to clarify that the main reason it was a sweep was because Russell played insane in the original game with Jovax. He got so many kills. I think he got 14 or 15 or something like that. A lot of kills. Anyhow. And of course, I feel so bad for Russell because he didn't leak anything here, right? It was Jovax that leaked this stuff. But it hits the whole team because the Aces, they're not leaking anything. If you think about it, the Aces never did anything, really. And that's why, they were such a fun team this season. They were so fun. But, dude, Ronnie makes a statement. He does lose. They do lose, but, they lose 2-0, kind of similar to the Bloxers, I'd say. In the first game, the Dark Hearts have home advantage here, and they get the win. But then the Aces somehow, so imagine this. All of your players can't show up except Chitra. And you have to go to a mercenary in the finals. But there is one mercenary who was an ace, who is drafted as an ace, who's supposed to be an ace. He actually agreed to play and help Chitra out. And so Sidon came in after, leaving CTF and all that. He came in to play a finals game to just, help out the Aces because he heard about the situation. I allowed it to happen because the Aces really wanted to, reach out. And he helped, and he played a really good game against the Dark Hearts. This was a very close game, very close, 3-2. The Aces had a lead, and it was tied, and the Dark Hearts had a lead, and the Aces tied, and then the Dark Hearts won with 8 seconds left. But yeah, dude, such a great game. So many flags captured. This is one of the highest skilled games I think we saw this tournament. So good. And both teams played spectacular, but the Dark Hearts still get the win. And the Dark Hearts now lead 2-0. They move to Game 3. The Dark Hearts play Kool-Aid, and Rustlin agrees. And by the way, guys, remember that these were actually played with a 2-0 lead. So still, But the Dark Hearts had a 2-0 lead, and Kool-Aid had played and won the last finals. So if Kool-Aid plays in this series, he's played in both finals and is the only player to play in both finals. So the Dark Hearts play him just, because they already have a 2-0 lead, and, and, like, obviously, Kool-Aid hasn't been bad. He's still played a solid game in this game, just not kill-wise, stats-wise. But like, of course, the Dark Hearts do lose 2-1, but it was a very close game still. Like, the Aces had a jump to a 2-0 lead, but the Dark Hearts stopped it. Like, they stopped the sweep attempt, and they came back, and Ruslan got a really good play and made it a 2-1 game, and Kool-Aid broke history and is the only player in CTF history or league history to play in both finals or multiple finals now, which is crazy. But dude, Chitra, this is a statement game by Chitra, I would say. Like, this was an amazing game by Chitra. He just shut down Ruslan. And, like, I mean, it was just absolutely, like, Chitra has been awesome on Underpass. But now, we're going to game 4. It's a 2-1 lead. The Dark Hearts are trying to just end it because they only need one more win, guys. And, because they only need one more win here, but the Aces, if they won game 3, the Dark Hearts would have swept. But they need one more win in game 4. And, dude, I think everyone, like, at least, I felt like the Dark Hearts were just going to somehow find a way to win against the Aces and, put the series to rest. That's what I really thought was going to happen. But no, the Aces hold on. They defend. The Dark Hearts actually had a lot of massive attacks. The Dark Hearts attacked for longer periods of time, but the Aces defended so well. Ronnie had such a great game, dude. And I mean, props to Chitra for coaching Ronnie to play this way because, oh my gosh, he played like a veteran. Like, he played so good. I think that's the biggest thing. Chitra led this team, a team of debutants, players who never played the tournament before, to a finals series. I mean, absolutely crazy. Ronnie played so amazing, though, and so amazing. Also, this is in overtime. But basically, what happened was, picture this. So basically what happened was Ruslan kills Chitra. They get an attack. The Dark Hearts have a major attack. Ronnie sees that, Chitra's dead. Ronnie goes alleys. So basically Ruslan's at their flag. Jovax is at their flag. Ronnie chooses to go alleys and chooses to a counterattack pretty much and attack. Ruslan halves Ronnie while he's trying to get to their flag. Meanwhile, Jovax just killed Chitra. So now the Dark Hearts are one flag because this is overtime. The Dark Hearts, all they need to do is just kill Ronnie, and it's over. It's over. But Ronnie he takes cover. He kills Ruslan because Ruslan was halved. And then he has to deal with a full health Jovax. And then he one-taps Jovax. And then saves it without dying. And then he runs. And he basically wins it. Of course, he gets Ruslan one-taps Ronnie. Chitra one-taps Ruslan. And bam, Chitra gets the capture. But Ronnie with a critical 1v2. Because if he dies, it's over. The finals are over. It's a ballsy play to call that. To make that call. To go and do that. I just can't believe that. Like, what a play by Ronnie. I will never get over it. It's such an amazing play. Like, something you only see a veteran really do. And yeah, dude, Ronnie just clutched it and won it. And the Aces tied the series, won both home games. And it's a game 5. The Dark Hearts, Doctor is back. And, of course, because, Jovax is suspended at this rate. And, dude, like, Doctor had such an important game. Doctor, he didn't play much in the first 2 rounds, but he played so well in the finals and just absolutely crazy. Ruslan gets a lead, but the Aces counter successfully and tie it 1-1. The first time, Ronnie, it's like Ronnie and Chitra have tied it. But, of course, Doctor takes the lead, and it's it's a back and forth after the Dark Hearts take a lead, and then eventually Doctor goes sewers, and the Aces, the sewers work. The sewers are the championship winning play. As Doctor was able to go in the sewers, the Aces figured out he was in the house, but it was too late because Ruslan was there. Doctor pinched them. They were pinched in the middle, and Doctor captured and won the championship for the Dark Hearts. And oh my gosh, what a tournament, what a game, what a series. And dude, just this tournament game-wise was one of the best tournaments ever. Some of the most entertaining, amazing gameplay ever. And so, as you could see, I have all the redos here that were shown. And now I want to talk about rule changes. So before this, we didn't really have any redo rules that were clear. I have made some redo rules. I have made some redos about, avatar infringement, what to do. Like, it's basically, if anyone leaks scores, there's leak scoring rules now too. But I had warned people that, we would redo games if people leaked, and they still leaked. For this next section of the podcast, I just wanted to say that, we are going to be diving into some drama, but I want to clarify that this section is more of clarification to people of kind of what happened, like bad-wise during Season 2 to kind of recap everything. And, this is just clarification of CTF and kind of how I feel about some of the actions that happen and stuff like that. This is nothing like, oh my gosh, name dropping, oh my gosh, this is just a section clarifying and communicating to you guys, because you guys have waited quite a bit. I know some of you guys haven't really heard a vocal standpoint on this. At the start of 2023, it was trash. 2023 was a terrible start for me because, winter vacation was terrible, sure. But, my spring semester, I was so busy, but with just so much stuff going on, I was in a pretty bad class, and there was, stuff I needed to do and figure out for the summer, like internship, car, stuff like that. And, for me, it was very stressful, and so for the summer of 2023, I wanted it to be a fun-filled summer where I didn't have to stress or, feel awful because, the rest of the year already had. It's just, it's really unfortunate because a lot of things happen that you don't want to happen, and of course, you can't control that. You can't stop things from happening, and so, you have to sort of disengage and get away from stuff, which is why, that was my whole thing going forward. I had a trash start to 2023, but I had a summer and a season coming up where I wanted it to actually be fun. I for sure had some personal drama before Season 2, but I didn't want that personal drama to actually boil over and cause more problems and just continue 2023 as it was. I definitely don't agree with the conflicts that happened or the conflicts that I engaged in during that time, but for me it was about focusing my attention on stuff that actually made me happy. I didn't want CTF to be taken from me like that rest of 2023, so I had to make decisions that not only protected me but also protected my community. I had a lot of people who came up to me and told me about the situation and the discomfort they had with it, and I don't want other people to be uncomfortable in my community because for me, it's I'm indirectly supporting it, indirectly providing it. So for me, it was oh, I feel comfortable on this situation, but also other people do. And, for me, it was definitely a win-win to be able to make not only me feel more comfortable and more motivated to do CTF, but for other people to actually have less pressure and stuff thrown on them. Anyhow, I did ban people to protect the community. I'm talking mainly about the start of 2020 or start of Season 2 because, I never really got to talk about this wasn't about ruining someone's reputation, especially since the announcements we posted were just information. We weren't here trashing someone trying to convince everyone of something. We were just explaining the actions we did because people were going to find out anyway. Everyone was going to DM me. So it's do I announce? Do I not? You know what I mean? I'd rather be more upfront with it too because I'd rather not just be talking in, group DMs, group chats about stuff when it's mainly a concern of the CTF community. But anyway, I hope, you guys understand that. I think a lot of you do understand that a lot of the decisions I made weren't just, oh, I don't like them. It was more of I just don't want stuff going down. I hope that's fair. I hope that's a fair point. But, that was my main concern. I do want to say that this section in particular does exist. The reason I'm even going over this, beginning drama is because some people don't really understand where I'm coming from this. And, I feel it's old enough to be hey, this was our goal. And, that's kind of what happened. I don't actually have any hard feelings about, any of the drama that happened at the beginning of 2023. I really don't. It's just more of, hey, this is what we did. And, that's kind of what I wanted to start off with is that we protected, this community from some toxicity that I was told about and stuff like that. I did so much to make sure we had a foundation, to make sure that the season was great. And then, of course, people leaked, and a lot of people leaked. We had 6 people suspended. 6 people suspended because of leaking. Of course, who knows if all those will hold up or not. But the finals leaks were awful. I mean, like, I had warned people to not do it because you could get, games redone and stuff. And I was trying to get finals finished before, the summer ended for me. So it was just bad. Like, it felt, it's very infuriating to, like, be like, oh, you just did so much for this community. And bam, we're going to leak finals in your face. Bam, we're going to argue. Bam, we're going to do this. And, like, I had to, put in a bunch of rules and stuff like that and actually moderate and stuff and add moderators. And it was just, like, a whole mess with just trying to make sure that the server was fine. I think this is a really good moment to recognize that, like, it's never just one person that is being toxic or anything like that. It's usually, a community. And unfortunately, in this case, a lot of people here were, not respectful toward the rules at all. And, I think, oh well, right? Like, we learn and we get better. But, that's just kind of like where I'm at now, is that kind of like, do we do season 3 and potentially have some of these problems come back again? Who knows? I don't know what's going to happen in the future. But, I'm glad that a lot of you guys understand that some of the stuff that was going on. I think it's awesome that some of you guys know that, I was fighting not just, two, like, one person or anything. I was fighting a lot of IRL stuff too. And I really appreciate the support some of you guys really gave me during this season, because, man, like, I don't think I would have been able to do this without some of you guys helping me out and being there for me, because, there was, a lot of, like, negativity regarding some of the decisions we made. And, at the end of the day, this is just a league, but at the end of the day, this is just one game. And, like, I think a lot of people overreacted and, or not, I'm not going to say a lot of people, but some people overreacted and tried to make more of this situation when there wasn't much to it. It was just disengagement and trying to get away from it. And, when people refuse to leave you alone, what are you gonna do? Like, I couldn't do anything to stop them besides be like, oh my goodness, I'll just take that away, I guess, because I have nothing else I can do, and then you get blamed for threatening or whatever, even though you're the one trying to get away from stuff. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like, anyway, it's like a little rant, I guess you could say. But, for me, it was more of just, like, trying to do everything to make sure this summer was good. This season was great. And I would say game-wise, it was amazing. All the games, almost all of them were amazing. Of course, there were some bad downsides, but, like, I feel like, this was an improvement from season 1. We're always going to have downsides. There's always going to be something that happens. And, I think people just need to recognize that and, move on and be better, I guess, and do it better next time. So, yeah, guys, let me know what you think about, some of the decisions that were made in this community this season. I am not, like, hard fought, like, angry or, like, enraged with some of the stuff that happened earlier this year, because I've come to recognize that even me as a person, I wasn't doing the greatest. And, a lot of people can change. And I think that's really important to keep in mind, is that, just because we did one thing doesn't mean that it defines who they are forever. Obviously, we can't just, pretend that, what they did is nothing. And I think that's a pretty fair standpoint in my book. There's, always more chances, especially for some people, like some of the arguments during the season, some of the actions some people had, like the finals week. I understand that people make mistakes, and, I'm not going to be here to be like, you are banned forever because you did this, So I just wanted to, have a little section here just kind of clarifying and putting my thoughts down, because, I feel like I never get to and at this kind of level. And, of course, my second channel, this is like not many of you guys will watch except the CTF community. So for me, it was kind of like, our decisions, we were just aimed at making sure this season was fun. And, I think that's a fair standpoint. I hope it's a fair standpoint to you players. And I appreciate a lot of the support some of you guys really gave to this season, and some of you guys put a lot of effort. And I just wanted to congratulate everyone for making this season such an amazing season. All of the players that played amazing, sure, but a lot of the, people who were in this community did an amazing job. I know there are a few bad apples that I talked about earlier, and there's some unfun stuff that happened, but just keep in mind that that is going to happen in every community. And I appreciate to those who follow the rules and just played to have fun. I really appreciate you guys joining season 2. Like, I can't express it enough. I don't make money from this. I don't do anything for this. So I really appreciate you guys so much. And, I hope you guys, enjoy this podcast episode. I'm sorry if that's long and that it's boring because it's just, one screen or whatever the hell. But, it is what it is, I guess. Maybe one day we'll try to top it off with quality. But, I thank you guys so much for watching this. And, thank you for competing or just supporting CTF. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to the players who play this game. I put a lot of effort into this season, and I really appreciate you all. So thanks for watching. Subscribe for more, and like this video to show support. I hope to see you in the next one.